Scene 1, the palace halls. Jon the Jester is on stage. Enter Mary A., the midwife. She has returned from the Queen's chambers.
Mary.
Jon?
How is she?
It was the strangest thing.
Strange how?
I can't even begin to describe it.
Try.
Well, this morning, I was in the garden. I'd just had breakfast. I was getting some air, and suddenly I was summoned to the palace. I hadn't even run a comb through my hair, but I got there as fast as I could. Now, Mary, Her Royal Highness, had been lying in bed here, in her bed for months, just waiting for the labor to begin. You can imagine how she smelled. But despite the feelings of labor, her cheeks were flushed, and she had the brightest smile on her face. I proceeded to make womanly preparations, and so far everything looked right, and the Queen looked healthy, so I had nothing to worry about yet. But then her pain grew worse and worse, and even worse still. Eventually she couldn't maintain her poise and began to sweat and cry and scream. I did what I could to help with the pain. I worried that she or the baby could be in danger, but I didn't want to alarm anyone, and I certainly didn't want some young physician marching in and butchering Her Majesty. They love to use those fancy gadgets to try and yank the babies out. So I kept trying to ease the pain, but at a certain point she looked like she couldn't bear it any longer. So I just told her to start pushing. Push, push, I said. Breathe, remember to breathe. And she did, and she was doing rather well for her first pregnancy. But there was a problem. As she was pushing, I saw no head. She pushed and pushed, but there was no baby, and then her belly began to shrink. It fell slowly, but it fell, and still there was no baby. I thought I was going mad. I had never seen anything like it. Hours passed since I began treating her, and eventually her belly was back to normal, as if weeks had passed since the delivery, but it had only been hours, and there was still no baby. At this point, she was hysterical. She couldn't stop weeping, and I had no idea what to say or do. I performed one last examination and determined that there was no child to be had. She asked me to leave, and I did, quietly. And now I'm here, and there is no baby.
I assume she's not good then.
No, I don't think so.
That is the strangest thing. So there's no heir, nothing. Her Majesty bore no child.
There was no child in Her Majesty.
I'll be damned.
Do you think I'll lose my job?
Hopefully you won't lose your head.
Oh, God.
I suggest you go home, lay low for a while.
Right. If anyone asks, I was called to another delivery.
Best of luck, Mary.
And to you, Jon. If you can make her laugh after today, I'll be very impressed.
Mary A. walks downstage. Jon exits. She faces the audience. Scene 2.
It is not proper to discuss vaginas, especially when that vagina belongs to the Regina. My practice is an unconventional one, but someone has to do it. Roll up their sleeves, spread the Queen's legs, and fix Her Majesty. My jobs end with the baby. Whether it's alive and healthy, alive and dead, dead and pretty, dead and cut up into little pieces, a medley of gelatinous ooze, or a monster, something has to come out. I've trained to deal with some monstrous, borderline supernatural babies, but there is not a medical journal, nor pamphlet, nor book, nor oral lecture that tells you what to do when there's nothing. Nobody prepared me for the absence of a... I think it's safe to say that I've seen it all.
Mary!
Jon!
How was the delivery?
Oh, uneventful.
She approaches him. They kiss. She sits down.
What's wrong?
I had a long day.
I'll put on some tea.
Put on some tea. During this,
I hear the Queen's been killing Protestants.
Oh.
Hopefully her descendants won't be so nasty.
Oh.
Bloody Mary.
The tea is ready. Suddenly they hear a loud knock at the door.
Come in.
Enter John B., frantic.
Mary!
John, do sit down.
Have you put on some tea?
Would you care for some?
Oh, I don't want to intrude.
Nonsense, have a seat.
He sits, forgetting something.
I heard your work for the Queen now.
I did, yes, but I think she'll no longer be needing my services.
That's a shame.
Perhaps not, to hear about the Protestants.
Oh, yes. Tragic.
They all drink tea.
Is this chamomile?
Yes, it's my favorite.
Mine too.
You seemed like you had something urgent to say?
Yes. Oh, what was it? Oh, yes. My wife's gone into labor.
What?
Yes, I was instructed to... Oh, my wife! We have to go now!
They set down their teacups and rush off stage. End scene. Scene 3. A river. Mary C. and Margaret wash clothes with that washing board thing.
Hello, Margaret.
Good morning, Mary.
A lovely weather we're having.
Oh, yes, quite.
How's your husband?
Can't complain.
And the children?
So.
What's wrong?
I'm a bit worried about Charles.
The one with the teeth?
No, that's Charlie. Charles is the one with the nose.
Oh, what's wrong with him?
I'm worried he might be a fae.
What, like a fairy?
Oh, yes, it's horrible. Mary, I think Charles has been switched by the fairies.
Why do you think that?
Well, we were having dinner, and Charles says, I want more potatoes. So I give him some more potatoes, and he says, more, please. So I give him more, and he yells, not that much, you twit.
He said that?
Said it right to my face.
Never heard with a child with temper.
I know.
Well, he must be fey then.
I know.
What you gonna do?
Probably make him walk on hot irons so the fae come back to get him.
Oh, that makes sense.
Scrubbing. Then,
You know, come to think of it, I think my son might be fey too.
Really?
I think so.
Well, you can never be too careful with fairies. What did he do?
Well, just the other day, I bought him a book and he said, thank you, Mum. But he said it in a weird tone. I don't know, I didn't like his tone. You think he might be fey?
Well, it sounds like the only explanation.
Oh, no! What do I do?
Well, there are a few ways you can get the fairies to switch him back. Can he swim?
Oh, no.
Perfect. So tomorrow take him for a walk and throw him in the river. If he swims, he's a fairy. If he doesn't, you'll know he's your real son.
But won't he drown?
You've got other kids.
Yeah, all right.
scrubbing continues.
Nobody prepares you for the difficulties of motherhood.
Oh, tell me about it. Childbirth, breastfeeding, torturing them to make sure they weren't switched by a fairy. You've got to figure it all out on your own.
Never forget to pray. Oh, my fingers are bleeding. Same time tomorrow.
See you then.
They exit. End scene. Scene 4. A sharp, abrupt, blood-curdling scream. Enter Mary B. She wobbles on stage and is very pregnant. She faces the audience.
I am past my prime. I am 22. Mary said it wouldn't hurt. Mary was very, very wrong.
She wobbles off stage. Enter Jon the Jester in his jestering uniform.
Thank you all for being here tonight. So, what's the deal with horse-drawn carriages? I didn't know horses could draw, like, with a pencil. Anyway.
Another scream from offstage.
People sometimes think I'm a porter. Porter? I hardly know her.
What?
A tortoise was taking a bath when suddenly a fish walked in, and he says, what did he say? Something about leisure. Fuck, what was it?
Mary B wails from offstage.
Well, that's my time. You've been an audience.
John exits. Enter Mary A.
That was... She... How? Huh.
She clears her throat, smooths her skirt, and walks off stage.
John?
End scene. Scene 5. John B. and John A. enter. John B. paces around and John A. watches him.
Everything's going to be fine.
How did this happen?
Oh, I knew.
How?
Relax!
Cheese! Cheese!
Perhaps it's a curse. From a fairy or a Jew.
Don't be ridiculous. There's no such thing as Jews. I think she was unfaithful.
With dairy products?
I don't know. I don't know how it all works, but how? How could this have happened?
Did you, consummate?
What kind of question is that?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude.
Well, we definitely did that, and I made sure to wiggle my toes, spin 3 times, and do a little dance. I just don't understand. Cheese.
Enter Mary B.
I'm so glad you're alive.
Likewise.
Are you in pain?
During this, John B. helps his wife across the stage and she sits.
Yes, so much. I don't know how this happened.
Do you think it might have been your fault?
I don't think so. We did everything right. You did the little dance.
Of course I did.
I don't know what went wrong.
Enter Mary A. Everyone turns. She's cradling a big bundle of something. It is a swaddled wheel of cheese, but you can't see that yet.
It is neither a girl nor a boy. My jobs end with a baby. Whether it's alive and healthy, alive and ugly, dead and pretty, dead and cut up into little pieces, a medley of gelatinous ooze, or a monster, something has to come out. I've trained to deal with some monstrous, borderline, supernatural babies, but there is not a medical journal, nor book, nor oral lecture that tells you what to do when there is cheese.
Here is when she reveals that what she is holding is indeed a swaddled wheel of cheese.
Now, I have definitely seen it all.
She walks to John B. and Mary B.
Here.
John B. flinches.
John?
I'm sorry. I cannot picture a life like this.
Then let us make the picture together.
How do we even begin to...
She places her hand on his shoulder.
We begin by holding it.
She takes the cheese from Mary A. She cradles it.
Hello.
The cheese does not respond. John B. looks over Mary B.'s shoulder like a proud father. Mary B. places her hand on the back of the baby's head and accidentally rips off a chunk of its face. They pause. She takes a bite. She lifts it to her husband's face, and he takes a bite.
That's quite good.
They walk off stage together. Mary A. joins John A., who watched the whole thing.
That was strange.
Love is a strange thing.
End scene. Scene 6. Mary B. is lying down. Enter Mary A. carefully.
I'm full.
Oh,
I didn't like that.
I know you didn't.
Mary A. lies down next to her. Mary B. begins to giggle. It gets louder and louder, and then Mary A. laughs along with her. They laugh hysterically.
Fucking baby!
End scene. Scene 7. Mary C. and Margaret meet at the river again, each carrying a bundle of laundry and that washing board thing.
Good morning, Margaret.
Morning, Mary.
They sit next to each other and begin scrubbing.
Got less socks than usual.
Charles's feet fell off.
Ah, my hot irons will do that.
Yeah.
Sherry's human then.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Oh, that's good news. Henry drowned.
Ah. Well, that's what happens when you can't swim.
They scrub simultaneously and indifferently.
Do you hear about the Protestants?
Yes, it's a real shame. Bloody Mary's let the power get to her head.
Oh, he died and made her queen of everything.
Edward.
They continue to scrub.
Edward was quite a lad.
Quite a lad.
Bit short,
But young.
but I'd rather not get into politics.
Right.
I think just because Protestants didn't deserve to live, don't mean they deserve to die.
Oh, of course.
Not that there's anything wrong with dying.
No, not at all. Some of my best friends are dead. You hear about the cheese baby?
Oh, what's that?
Oh, apparently there was this woman, Mary something, and she had a baby that she didn't want, and I think she cheated on her husband with a dairy farmer, so she didn't want this baby, and she hosted these parties, these cheese tasting parties, and every time she'd make the guests close their eyes and try a new mystery cheese, but it wasn't cheese. So what she'd do is she'd cut up her baby into little pieces and spread it on crackers, so these party guests would eat like a baby arm or a spleen or what have you, and they didn't know it. They thought it was just this new fancy cheese, and she did this until there was no more baby.
Christ. Sounds like dairy only causes trouble.
End scene. Scene 8. A room of science. A large, sturdy table. John C. peers through a telescope, mumbles, and goes to the table to take notes.
Fascinating.
He returns to the telescope.
Find any new planets yet?
No, but there's a bird, and he looks ridiculous.
John D. takes a look.
What's he doing over there?
I've no clue.
Cheeky little thing.
They take turns looking through the telescope and making silly little comments about the silly little bird. Then,
What are we doing, John?
What do you mean?
I mean all of this. What are we doing here? We're looking through that thing all day, hoping to discover a new planet or star or something. But we've looked everywhere, and there's just nothing else out there. I'm tired of wasting away my life, my youth, in the name of science.
John C. thinks about this.
We could try looking at night.
Maybe.
They resume business as usual. Then,
Science. What's so noble about science? I mean, you're just saying things and hoping no one proves you wrong.
John, where's this coming from?
I'm not sure.
Do you think there's something more noble than what we're doing?
I don't know. When was the last time we felt grass under our feet? Not our shoes, but our feet. Don't you think we ought to, I don't know, lay in the grass, read a book, look at the clouds? Have we ever used these things to look at the clouds? I can't remember the last time I really looked at a cloud.
Oh, the clouds. How about I forget the clouds? Well, if you say so, then we must abandon our research and never make a single contribution to the field we spent our lives studying. No, we must prance around in a real field with grass and dirt, and we'll braid each other's hair, and
Will you shut up?
No, you're completely right. Who needs a pernicious bastard anyways, when we can look at the bloody clouds?
You don't mean that.
Yes, as a matter of fact.
he closes his notebook.
Why don't we do it right now? Find us a patch of grass and we'll lie there anyways. No ifs, no ands, no buts. To hell with our research. John, lead the way.
John!
John C. looks at John D. Long pause. John D. takes a step towards him.
John?
A long pause, and then John C. slowly sits in his chair, lifts his leg suggestively, takes off his shoe, takes off his sock, and finally wiggles his toes. This takes time and there is tension. John D sees this. He hesitates. He then spins 1, 2, 3 times. They both pause.
John.
John C shushes him and caresses his face. John D steps away as if to say no, but then he turns to him. John D does the little dance.
John.
They start making out. They're on the table undressing each other as the lights dim. End scene. Scene 9. Mary A. and John A. sit at home drinking tea.
Now, this placenta was the largest I had ever seen. I mean, it was comparable to a small hen. Oh, that reminds me. Do you want chicken or beef for dinner?
Oh, beef, thank you.
Right. So I reach in there, and then she has to sneeze.
A sudden knock at the door.
Come in.
Enter Mary B, pushing a stroller. As she turns downstage, we see that the stroller is full of various store-bought cheeses.
Mary!
Jeez.
What are you doing here?
I was in the area and I thought I'd stop by.
That's great.
Will you join us for dinner having beef?
That's very kind of you. No, I'm just stopping by.
That's fine. May I ask about
You know about the Fae? They're fairies, sort of like elves, and they'll steal children in the night and replace them with their own fairy children. Something like that happened to my neighbour, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I mean, I don't have a child to switch, but I hope fairies like cheese. I should go now, just wanted to stop by. Lovely seeing you, Mary. John.
Mary.
Mary B begins to walk off stage.
Oh, and here.
She takes one of the many wrapped cheeses and gives it to John A. He holds it like it's very fragile. Then Mary B exits, possibly laughing. John A. and Mary A. sit together in silence. He looks at the cheese and offers it to his wife, who shakes her head. He sets it aside.
more tea?
They return to their tea. Mary A. finishes her cup and stands up to put it away when she feels a sharp, stabbing pain in her abdomen. She drops the teacup and it breaks.
Mary, are you all right? Mary!
End scene. Scene 10. The river. Mary C. and Margaret enter with their laundry and washing boards. The laundry this time is exclusively underwear, ranging from big old bloomers to sexy thongs.
Morning, Margaret.
Hello again, Mary. How are you today?
Can't complain.
How are the children?
Jade, mostly.
Oh. And the husband?
So.
What's the matter?
I'm not sure what's wrong with him, but he's walking a bit funny.
Huh. Mine too.
They brush it off and scrub like hell. Then.
Did you hear about Mary?
Oh, which one?
It's the Queen. Queen Mary.
Oh, what about her?
Turns out, no baby.
Oh, what do you mean?
She wasn't pregnant. It was all in her head.
What?
I know.
You're joking?
Have you seen a baby prince crawling around?
I'll be damned.
Makes you wonder, are we doing something wrong? I mean, how old is it to make a normal baby?
Right. There's always got to be something. It's either too small or too big or ginger.
Ginger.
That's the best case scenario. You know, if I had a shilling for every sack of jelly I pushed out my twat, well, I wouldn't be doing my own laundry, that's for sure.
I never know what's going on in here.
Oh, never.
Sometimes I'll just sneeze and it's like this.
Your sacrifice is not ever noticed.
The panties don't respond. Margaret tells her to cut it out. More scrubbing. Then the panties get swept up in the river, and Mary C. runs off to get them. After a moment, there is a gasp.
Oh, God!
What is it?
There's a man in the river.
Mary C. re-enters, dragging in an unresponsive John.
I think he's dead.
Margaret gets up and looks at the body.
Christ.
Should we do something?
They stand over the jester. The jester is dead. The panties get swept away. Fade to black. End of play. Thank you guys so much. That was awesome.